Down, the podcast from ADAMH, Brad DeCamp. Good morning, Brad.
Randy, good to see you as always.
Great to see you. We're hitting that Thanksgiving time. We're only a few days away.
That's
actually,
right.
As we're recording this. So, yeah, I mean, it can be hard on some people, though, can't it?
Yeah, holidays are really a tough time for some people. And one of the things that I wanted to chat about this morning is, and personally, this is going to be the second holiday season without my dad, and so my mom lives alone, and so she's. But there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people who have been alone, have lost loved ones. So I would just encourage folks as you're going through your regular holiday routine, if you know of somebody like that, whether it's a friend or family member, even I would just encourage you. A phone call, a text, some type of reach out to make sure people are doing well means a lot and goes a long way, especially this time of year.
Yeah. Yes, like I said, it's what happens to people this time of year? I mean, it's tough on them.
Well, it's tough. I mean, I'll say I'm an old guy. I don't know if I'm older than you or not, but the thing that really I struggle with is the time change.
Yeah, me too.
And we're not getting as much daylight, and that's just part of life. But it can affect people, and there is a condition called seasonal affective disorder, and it happens typically to people who are susceptible in the fall. And it normally regulates back in the spring, and a lot of it is attributed, I think, to the time change and just the seasonal daylight. But it can become a problem for people, if it starts to interfere with their daily living. If they can't, if they're struggling to go to work, or if they're having other life things that they're not able to take care of, then it's time to talk to a doctor about that and ask for their input. And a lot of times it can be something as simple as maybe some additional light exposure. There's some additional lighting that can be helpful, and that helps regulate a lot of the body's natural chemicals. But it is a serious condition, and it doesn't affect a lot of people. But there's some estimates that say maybe as many as 5 to 7% of people.
Wow, that's quite a few. Yeah.
It's not a small number, but it's not maybe as big as someone who when we talk about things like anxiety or depression or something like that. But it's not an insignificant number either.
Yeah, and I know there's there's lights available you can buy for your house that you can sit in front of or whatever. Yeah, it's
even if it's during the day, if you can get out for a few minutes. I know a lot of times, sometimes the days are gray and cold here, but again, just getting that natural light can help a lot too.
Sure can. Open your windows, open your curtains.
That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
Let the light in.
Yeah, and and it can be tough. I mean, not just from that, but just people in general during the holiday season. I mean, especially if you're alone, it can be really tough. I mean, that's when, unfortunately, you see a lot of the suicides come up during this time of year, don't you?
Yeah, it's a high risk time. Again, there's a lot of seasonal things, and again, if people are alone and not connected, I think that's what we see is that lack of connection that sometimes gets concerning, and so that's why we want to encourage people to check on the ones that they know. And we do have, one of the things I wanted to be sure that I mentioned again was the 988 number. That's the new national 3-digit suicide prevention and crisis service lifeline that just came online this summer and has been something that's building. I think there are going to be continued enhancements for it. The thing that I like about our local system that we have is we're actually using a provider that we had started to use in Marion a few years ago, and so they've got all the accreditations and affiliations that they needed to have to be selected by the state for that role. But they do have some familiarity with Marion and Crawford County, so it's not going to be a type of thing where. And I think Ohio has done a good job compared to some other states with 988 preparation.
Sure.
There are some other states that are going to be rolling over their call centers to maybe areas that aren't local or maybe even within the state. So we are fortunate in Ohio that we do have a pretty good system of those centers that are going to take the calls, and we just want to encourage people to not be worried about reaching out. We also have our local contact Crawford County that can help provide support as well, and their number's 419-562-9010, and you can certainly reach out to contact as well. But again, the whole thing about connection, but also recognizing if things are starting to be more serious, to not be afraid to reach out to those numbers as well.
My wife's a high school teacher. I made sure she got the word out to the students that the 988 was available because that's very important, especially these days. That's the kids respond to that 988 number or whatever, or texting or whatever. I mean, this is especially for teenagers. I mean, this could be a real big game changer for that.
I agree, and I think the text will be operationalized with that as well. The geolocation will be another thing where they can actually get services where you are. Obviously there's a Marion, Indiana, there's a Marion, Ohio,
right?
And sometimes there's that geolocation I don't think is fully optimized yet, but it will be soon, and so that'll be really big. And it's also a focus for veterans as well. We just celebrated Veterans Day, and we want to remember our men and women who served our country as well. If they are in crisis, we want to make sure that we're aware of that as well.
Sure. Don't be afraid to reach out. If you're hurting, reach out to somebody, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also would say it. And again, if you know someone, whether it's relative, friend, whatever, neighbor, if you know that they're alone, check on them. Make sure they're doing okay.
All right. What else is happening?
So I did want to mention before we close, we do have a new project that's getting ready to kick off in 2023 in Crawford County. This is going to be called Stepping Up, and it's a partnership between the ADAMH board with the jail. So you have the sheriff's office, law enforcement, and also the judges. And really the focus is to keep those individuals who may be interfacing with the criminal justice system because of their mental illness out of jail. And it's a great process to work through. It's supported through the state of Ohio, through the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, and we also work with the Medical College of Ohio over in the Kent area. So that's going to be supported by those professionals there, and so I'm really excited about the planning that's going to go into that and the partnership that we have with law enforcement.
Sure.
Those men and women are very well trained to recognize crises, and I think almost all of them are able to tell with their experience and their training that someone's experiencing a mental health issue and not necessarily something that's criminal. So, but there's a fine line, and it's hard to tell sometimes. But I'm excited for that work and what it will have for Crawford County moving forward.
Wow, that's good. I mean, you guys offer a lot of ADAMH, don't you?
We do. We work with we're doing actually our crisis intervention team training starts next week. We coordinate that with our local law enforcement for both Crawford and Marion County. And we've just had great response from all the law enforcement jurisdiction. I really can't sit here and think of one with all the different jurisdictions that we have in both counties that we've not had a good response for.
Good. Well, good. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so if someone needs help, I mean, maybe they're having, in their crisis, or maybe they have a loved one that they're worried about, how can they get help from ADAMH?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would encourage everyone to definitely write down the 988 number, reach out. That's going to be available 24/7. We also have our crisis text line, which is available by texting the number 4 and the word HOPE to 741-741. That's used by a lot of younger kids. Again, you mentioned the texting. That's a big thing. We're also happy to talk to folks if they have questions. They can reach us at either 419-562-7288 or 740-387-8531, and we're happy to talk to them. And I'd also say that they can go to our website. We have all the information about the local providers at mcadamh.com.
And if you hear somebody that's, talking about or maybe just kind of mentioning suicide, don't take that as a joke, and don't take that as just, they're just saying that. Take that seriously.
I would say not just take it serious. That's an excellent point. Not just take it seriously, but also don't be afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because what I mentioned earlier is that what starts to happen is people isolate and they start to be alone. So when you start to engage them and ask them those serious questions, that starts to build a bridge, and they don't feel as isolated. So they are more likely. It's almost, I had to train myself that it's the opposite. You're not going to plant the seed. You're actually going to build a bridge by asking.
And if they have questions about that, maybe you're concerned about somebody, of course, you guys can help out too, right?
We can help out. Again, mention 988. There's also contact Crawford County, which is 419-562-9010. They're happy to help as well. But yeah, just I think connection is the key. Check on those people that you know are alone, and again, offer those numbers if you think that they could benefit.
A simple phone call will go a long ways, can't it?
Very much, very much.
Brad, thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. Good seeing you as always.
Same here. Thank you.